Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afonte. Thank you for joining us here on WLTX Plus. We've got an update on our upcoming weather over the next 7 days, and of course, it involves directly about the tropics. We got an 8 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center on this area of interest. Right now, it's just over the areas of Pensacola, Florida. National Hurricane Center gives it at this time a 40% chance of development within the next 2 days, but really for the next 7 days. It is very poorly organized right now and still tracking it, although it is moving rather slowly. It's moving in an opposite direction. Now, it's actually moving west. It has been moving west. The latest data has come through. This tropical wave, and you'll see it's called Invest 93L. Now, people have been asking me, what does that mean in English? Okay, Invest, they just abbreviate. They're investigating, and then the L is an area of low pressure. And they're investigating to see if this will be a tropical development into a tropical depression, tropical storm, hurricane, the whole gamut. 93 is a designation number. Every time that there's an area of interest, they start at 90 and they go all the way up to 99 and then start all over again at 90. This is the third one of interest so far for the 2025 Atlantic and Gulf hurricane season. Not a lot of activity. In fact, you see a lot of the showers associated with this, and hardly any thunderstorms are well to the west. It's raining pretty good right now in areas of Biloxi, Mobile, New Orleans, and just tapering off as it gets a little bit further west. But notice there's not a lot of rain to its north, some light showers, but no real thunderstorm activity. Now, for us here in the Carolinas, we had a couple of showers and thunderstorms, but believe it or not, it's not associated with that tropical wave. The data right now from computer models are indicating that roughly by Friday morning, so we're talking about 36 hours from now, its position is going to be somewhere, and very likely, along the Louisiana Bayou. It's going to be anywhere in the areas from New Orleans to maybe as far west as Lake Charles, Louisiana, even by the Sabine Pass, the mouth of the river right between Louisiana and Texas, or it could be further inland around Alexandria, Virginia. So that, for those of you who are familiar with that, that'd be the areas around Highway 5150 and I-51, or rather I-50. And then maybe some models are indicating that it'll turn northward a little bit earlier, possibly passing the areas of Hattiesburg and to head to areas around Jackson, Mississippi. Either way, 36 hours from now, it's going to be even further west. And then as we progress going into Saturday night, roughly 48 hours from now, it's going to be somewhere in just approaching the Ozarks, the mid-Mississippi Valley. So it could be anywhere in that location from Pine Bluff to Jonesboro, Arkansas, and then as further east as maybe Memphis, Tupelo, Oxford, Mississippi, even one model's indicating Huntsville. So that's 48 hours from now, and then we expand it all the way into Sunday night. A lot of the models still take it going up the Mississippi River, but by and large, the biggest thing to take of this is that, one, for what we're used to in the Gulf and in the Southeast, especially for the Carolinas, this is moving backwards. Usually when we see any tropical development, they're coming in from the Gulf, they come from south to north or west to east. And then for here in the Carolinas and Florida on the East Coast, it comes up usually out of the Caribbean. This one is working the other way around, and it's been moving very slowly and hardly developing. Here's the culprit. There's a position of the tropical wave. In the upper levels, there is this big old high pressure. Actually, the center of it is parked right over the upstate. Very expansive, and you can see the upper level winds are spinning clockwise. The base of where the tropical wave is being forced to go to the west. That high pressure is going to be the contributing factor to why this tropical wave is going where it is and its lack of development. Now, it is going to produce quite a bit of rainfall. As we get into Thursday, tomorrow, the Weather Prediction Center is indicating that pretty much from eastern shores of Texas all the way across the Gulf South along the west coast of Florida, there is a marginal to slight, so category 1 and 2 out of 4, that there could be heavy rainfall that could lead to some flooding. As we get into Friday, the bullseye, and remember Friday night is where the spaghetti models put it somewhere in that area from Lake Charles to Baton Rouge, south of Alexandria, Louisiana. The focal point for the heavy rainfall is pretty much going to be in that area of southwestern and coastal Louisiana. That's a level 3, a moderate at a 4 risk, but then expands into pretty much all of Louisiana, and then at least a slight risk into Mississippi. But notice that the marginal risk extends all the way up well past Tennessee and then expands over into areas of North Carolina. It just skirts the upstate of South Carolina and northern Georgia. From Friday going into Saturday, well, as expected from the models, it's just going to continue tracking north as far as the center of the area of low pressure or the tropical wave. But still, the rain is going to be focused from the lower Mississippi Valley all the way up into the Tennessee Valley and then into North Carolina and Virginia and the mid-Atlantic. Saturday into Sunday, as it's progressed into the Midwest, the rainfall that's going to be carrying with it, the heavy rainfall specifically, is going to be in areas from the Appalachians, points west and north. Again, South Carolina is going to be primarily going to be in the upstate, and it's a very little area for right now, and then all through the foothills of western North Carolina. That's what we're expecting as far as the rainfall. And I was hoping that this wouldn't happen, but I'll give it a minute or two to see if it'll update. Bottom line is that the concentration of rainfall from the Weather Prediction Center over 7 days, the largest concentration is going to be from the Sabine Pass between Texas and Louisiana all the way up into northern portions or central portions of Louisiana, and then along the Gulf states, the Gulf shores of the southern states. The amount of rainfall, though, that's the big interesting thing. These models will very likely update tomorrow and as well as on Saturday and Sunday of the amount of actual rainfall. But notice the heaviest concentration is in 2 regions, right along the northern portions of the Gulf, and then when you get into the areas from the Midwest, over the Appalachians and into North Carolina and Virginia. Overall scope is that many areas, and if you want to put it by interstates, everybody north of Interstate 10 to well south of Interstate 40. So I-10, I-20, that entire line all the way into the Palmetto State, there's going to be rain, but it doesn't look like there's going to be flooding rain. There could be periods of heavy rainfall. We'll show that in a moment as far as how much rainfall we're expecting. But right now, if the trajectory of this tropical wave, regardless of its development, if it continues moving west and then turns up the Mississippi Delta through the upper Mississippi River, then very likelihood these totals as far as locations of higher amounts will stay the same. The amount of rainfall will very likely fluctuate, and I suspect at this time that the rainfall amounts that range anywhere from 3 inches up to localized 6 off the shores of Louisiana's bayou, southern parishes, very likely that rainfall total will be increased, as well as the amount of rainfall that is expected from pretty much from the Tennessee mountains all the way across into areas of the Research Triangle in North Carolina. There could be an increased amount also as far as the rainfall along the South Carolina coastline and points inland, because as that high brings in all of that moisture and wraps around it, it may wrap back around into the coastline of the Southeast Atlantic. So that'll include South Carolina and Georgia. Hurricane season. It's only July 16. We are just on the approach of where we start to increase the factors of the possibility of a tropical storm or a hurricane. This does not depict landfalls. This is just indicating the activity over the last 100 years of when we expect things to start kicking up. We may have 5 or 6 tropical storms or hurricanes in the Atlantic season that in July or August that never make landfall. But this is where we start going up. We'll have a significant increase as we get to the beginning of August, but then it peaks by September 10th. So we got a ways to go for the hurricane season. Well, so far we've had 3 named storms: Andrea, Barry, and the one that impacted us 2 weeks ago, Chantal. Now, we only have 3. And here's the point of why I'm saying only 3. Typically this time of the year, July, mid-July, we should be catering to either the first or first or second storms. So Andrea being the first storm, the average when it was actually named as a storm, July 9. August 1st would be the second one. Well, we already have Barry, and then Chantel mid-August. We already have had Chantel. If this becomes a named storm, which it's on the fence whether it will or not, that would be Dexter. But climatologically, statistics show that the fourth one shouldn't be named until August 23rd. So on average, we're behind. Nobody's complaining, but still, we're talking about as far as our activity where it should be, that we haven't seen much yet. By the time we get to September 10, that may be changing where we may have numerous amount of named storms. But so far, we're at least 5 weeks behind on average of naming storms. Here's our impact. Let's just get to what we're expecting for South Carolina. Tomorrow, we're not expecting really any impact, but there's multiple impacts we're going to be looking at. Friday, it does go up. For now, there is an elevated impact for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's subject to change, especially with the information that I saw just before we got on air. Remember that area of high pressure? High pressure in the upper levels of the atmosphere actually push air downward. So you got cooler, drier air from upper levels of the atmosphere. That cooler, drier air is pushing down. Well, it's actually taking a lot of the moisture out from the upper levels of the atmosphere, aka clouds. So because of that, there's the likelihood that the amount of rainfall that we're going to be looking at is going to be on the very low end tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. Now we get to Monday, especially Monday into the afternoon, we'll start seeing an increased chance, and that increased chance goes to Wednesday. But the focal point is now through the weekend. There's a chance for isolated rainfall, maybe in the form of afternoon storms, but it is few and far between. That high pressure is just going to squeeze any chances of the upper levels of the atmosphere and a lift to build up those clouds and build up storms. Well, this is nothing new. Our dew points have been atrocious over the last 4 to 5 weeks, but especially so far this month of July. Our dew points have been in the 70s and will stay like that over the next 7 days. Well, the higher the dew points, the higher the humidity, the uglier it feels outside, just flat out gross. But to add to that, remember, we're not expecting a lot of cloud coverage, at least for the next few days, maybe isolated pop-up storms because of the heating of the day. Here's the catch. We're looking at high temperatures to range from the mid to upper 90s as we progress into the weekend. And still by Monday, going into Wednesday, the temperatures are still going to be in the low to mid 90s. Our average high temperature in the afternoon for this time in mid-July, where we are at the hottest throughout the entire year, is 93 degrees. Tuesday and Wednesday will be somewhat close, but we're going to be above that and well above that as we head towards the weekend. You combine the dew points in the 70s, this is a projection potential of what the heat index is going to be. Again, from a lot of the information that I just looked at less than an hour ago, the heat index values, what it feels like in the shade, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday may get tapered down by a degree or two, but the bottom line is that we're going to have heat index values from approaching as high up as 102 on Tuesday to, let's just say, 107 to 108 Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's going to end up being sometime in the mid-afternoon, usually between 2 and 5, and when we start peaking. Well, especially for the next 3 days through Saturday, very, very little chance of rain. Even on Sunday, the reason why the air temperatures for Tuesday and Wednesday are a little bit lower, is because there is that possibility that we could see some rain. That is going to be the biggest culprit they're going to be looking at. The bottom line is that as we continue to track this tropical wave, and again, at this point right now, it's only a 40% chance of development between right now all the way until Wednesday night. This may change, but even if it changes, all indications right now of where it's positioned is that once it tries to start developing, it may already be too close to land by Friday morning. And regardless of what it is, whether it's still just a tropical wave or it increases to maybe even a tropical depression or a storm, by the time we get to Friday night and into Saturday night, it's already well inland and pushing through. And all of the precipitation that's going to be involved in it is going to be right in that area along the Gulf South. But that high pressure is going to make the biggest pivotal change to our weather, because where we're not going to have that much rainfall now through Sunday because of that, high pressure sticking right over it. That area of low pressure is going to stay well west to us, and all indications right now from all the models over the last 2 days, this will stay far west of us. We may not get the direct impact from it at all, but because it's so far away and high pressure that's over us, it is going to make things quite sticky, quite hot, until we get the chance for some rainfall going into next week starting on Monday. Now, we are going to continue updating all the information on this tropical wave, the direct impacts, the indirect impacts of what we're going to be experiencing here in the Carolinas. We'll be doing this update on WLTX Plus, our streaming services. We'll have updates on this throughout the day and evening on our News 19 newscast. But for now, stay safe and stay cool. I'm News 19 Chief Meteorologist Efren Afante.